Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dr. Jim and Jodie show.
Hi.
I think I've got I guess could be an edgy topic we could talk about today. So I had a really good conversation with a new friend last night over dinner, and we were kind of getting on the conversation of politics, which you don't really want to talk about all the time. But it led to anyways, that undertone of the conversation, what we ended up talking about was the intolerance that is seemingly going on in the community, and especially portrayed through media, and how, so I don't know where this conversation is going to go, but I just kind of wanted to throw it out there and just kind of see if there's any lessons that we could take away, or try to shed some light and be supportive with people when they are that way.
Okay.
So, for example, so we started talking about politics, then we got into the whole Anita, Black Lives Matter, cops, racial injustice. It got into a very deep conversation. And one thing that we both ended up agreeing on is the intolerance that people have. Once people, it's almost as if once people have take a stand, they're seemingly not wanting to even look at that stance, even if they know that they're potentially could be wrong per se, which I don't even like that word, but if they or have a different point of view, because they don't want to show some sort of weakness, so they stand behind that opinion. And it was a really good conversation, but I don't know, do you notice any of that?
I grew up in that.
Yeah.
So, remember we went on a couple weeks ago and you started talking, and he was talking about people making comments about racials, and I started popping my neck and cracking my knuckles, and you were like, what's going on? That stuff infuriates me.
Yeah.
We're all children of God, we're all human, and I try to stay away from politics. I'll talk about God, but I really try to stay away from structure, religion too, because it blows up. But I think you're right. All lives matter. I'm near and dear. I know I talk to you about the military all the time.
Yeah.
That's my family. And then my friends or my cousins are first responders. And you just don't understand. When you mentioned the cops and the firemen and stuff. That's my family. And there's days I don't know if they're coming home. Or they'll call me afterwards and be like, hey, I'm so happy to be home with my family today, and this is what happened. Because I get it and I understand it, and they have to debrief.
Yeah.
But they're human. They have feelings.
That's what I think, and that's where we ended up going with the conversation. I kind of just wanted to throw it out there, is that at the end of the day, everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think we put certain people based on position or the way that we view them on a pedestal. So it's there's no tolerance for them to be that way anymore. So it's well, he's a policeman, he should act this way. He's the president, he should act this way. Agreed to a certain, there's an extent, but at the end of the day, they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna screw up. Now, not justifying any actions that harm people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if somebody says something, we just gotta, I think, be more tolerant and look across the space and be, a little more understanding, or put ourselves in that position. Because a lot of the times, especially with the media nowadays, which I completely disagree with, is we never get the full story of anything.
Right.
It's always a clip of whatever happened with no background, and then all of a sudden, 2-3 weeks later, a month later, a year later, the story comes out, but by that time, no one cares. You've already formed your opinion, and now it's kind of hard to go back on it, because with social media nowadays, everyone's posting, so now you've got, for days on an occurrence or something that you viewed, you formed an opinion, and then all of a sudden, I think people have a hard time going back and oh, I was wrong. stating that or judging that person for this, and so they just let it go.
Yeah, maybe we'll throw in that here. Do you remember Steve from Peaks, when we went to Peaks, the guy that helped us a lot, and he's running Peaks?
Oh yes.
He sent us a video and was like, how do you manage, especially in a time like this, where not stepping and saying that you're this person or that person with all of the politics stuff going on. This was during the election time.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you stay neutral and don't basically piss anybody off? Because if you do, then you're going to lose people here or lose people there, And I said, you have to be able to see it from both points of view.
Right.
We all have points of view. Your background and things that you went through in your life is going to make you think a certain way.
Right.
Same with me, and then you don't know how this person was raised. We were talking about generational things the other day, and it just, if you want it to change, you gotta be the one that's gonna break the cycle on it,
Right.
And come from a place of love. There's a lot of times when I know that we might be upset about something at each other once in a while, and I say, I'm sending you love, Lopez, I'm sending you love.
Yeah.
But then when we actually have an uncomfortable conversation about it, I see your point of view, and then you see my point of view, and a lot of times I'll be like, this is what I heard you say. So when you're in those conversations with people, just say, this is what I'm hearing you say, because a lot of times I'm wrapping my own perspective around what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what's going on in my life that I'm not sharing.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference, guys, if you just step back and don't put your emotions into everything and just see the big picture.
And I forget, a part of that was also this, you can disagree with someone and still be tolerant of their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And actually have a conversation and even understand that point of view. I get it, I understand where you're coming from, and I completely disagree with you.
Right.
And it doesn't mean, just because you have a disagreement, doesn't mean there has to be any emotion behind it where I can't talk to them because they have this point of view and they see it that way. And I think I see that happening a lot now. It's like where people, they have a disagreement and all of a sudden that is the way that it's, well, we disagreed, so we can no longer communicate.
Could you imagine? Really? It's insane. It really is.
But I see it all the time, and I think we're especially with social media, being able to post and have technology at our fingertips where we can get answers and everything right away.
But are the right answers? Because Google is not the same as your damn intuition. Your intuition knows. Your Google does not.
So I think that was where I just kind of wanted to throw it out there was, for us to, really be a lot more tolerant and practice tolerance and understanding, number one, asking the questions first to get the whole story, understanding the sides, both sides and exactly what happened in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you decide to still have, a very strong opinion based on anything, that's fine. But just as long as we can really sit back and understand both sides of the story before making a comment, and then especially judging people that are doing the same thing on the other side.
Yeah.
Because all it does is separate us. And the more separate, we become,
Not good.
it's not. There's no support.
Right. And then aren't we a melting pot? I mean, we live in America. Seriously, we're a melting pot. If you want to be judgmental, you better go back and look at your DNA. Because I'm going to tell you, something that you're not liking is probably in there somewhere. So stop. Just stop with the nonsense. I think that's a really big reason why I want to take this place more into being in the studio with you coming in, is the looking at things in a bigger picture, like the 360 degrees of wellness and the breath work and the meditation and oils and all that stuff, because it just pulls you back instead of being in that flight or fight mode or survivor mode, which what happens. I mean, especially this is an asphalt jungle out here.
Right.
So you don't get to pull in that nature and that love and the streams and put your feet in the grass very often, and just step back and disconnect a little bit and see things from the 360 degrees, and come from a place of love rather than a place of taking your stance,
Yeah.
And it's great to have opinions. We all have them, but approach it a little bit differently.
Well, that's all they are. They're just opinions
Yeah.
and points of view. And there is no right or wrong with it, and people aren't right or wrong based on having an opinion that's opposite of yours. You know, so I think that's where I kind of wanted to throw that out there, or like as for a homework assignment is, before, like no matter where you're at and you take a position, like sit back and really read what you're writing or posting or taking a video of, you know, before, you know, not so emotionally react or knee-jerk react at the moment. Like sit back, think about it, or write it out, and then come back to it an hour, 2 hours later and see, like, is that your truth? And you know, where is that going to position you once you throw it out there on social media? You know, how is that going to land, you know, across the space? Especially if, you know, a story comes out that whatever you were forming your opinion on is not the truth. Not everything you read on the internet is true, by the way. So that's my homework, is just to practice more tolerance, love, and understanding from the people across the space.
Yeah, and I want you to practice mindfulness, and just take 10 minutes a day and just sit quietly with your thoughts and having no judgment on your thoughts. And you're going to start to notice that you're not going to react the same way, because you're taking time out for you, and it really makes a difference when you go to respond. Is that really for your higher good? You know, really, is it? And I promise you, once you do that, you're going to start seeing some big shifts in your life, and you're not going to be pulled into toxic relationships anymore either, because you're not going to feed into them. So, all right.
Yeah, perfect.
We did good. We thought we were going to go a little edgy. Yeah, all right. All right, bye guys.
Bye.